Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Taurus for January 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about my new astrology blog and my other blogs, and you can see more about my new course called Creating a Successful Online Business, which is enrolling now. So what is going on in the month of January? You might be tempted to think I'm going to say Happy New Year and talk about how it's a new year and there's all this new energy. But it's not true. There is not new energy. There is old energy. There is not an astrological basis for the new year being on January 1st. And I would be able to let that slide if this month were so contradictorily not a new year. But we can't. We can't do that because Mercury is in retrograde. We've got aspects with Pluto that focus more on probing in deep and coming to solutions to things and asking deep questions that will shift the nature of the things you launch or do new. So I can't let it slide. So the astrological new year happens when the sun moves into Aries, which is at the end of March. That's when the bubbling forth, the clean slate, the fresh new vibe comes in. That is not happening right now. And while Capricorn, which the personal planets are moving in, that the sun, Mercury, will bring this energy of productivity, of ambitions, it's just not blazing forward. So you've got two options. If you've got things you really need to do new, start them in December or wait until into February. Now that doesn't mean that I want to discourage you at any time to change your diet or do something that might be part of a New Year's resolution, but I can say that what you decide on will carry much more weight if you decide on it in December, or if you get more clear about what it is that you want and where you're going and what you're doing, and then charge into February and March. Okay, that's the general story, but we'll talk about more specifics. Mercury goes retrograde on January 5th and it stays retrograde until January 25th. The days around Mercury going retrograde are even more haywire than the other days. So that essentially covers all of January in Mercury retrograde, something or other of some consequence. There are many implications of this transit, many things to avoid, many things that it is good to do. I'm not going to cover all those things now because I've done a separate video on that you can look up on my website, Annie Botticelli, Mercury retrograde. But we will talk about this energy of going backwards, the energy of going inwards, and we will talk about the energy of the rugs being picked up, or the throw rugs being picked up and stuff just flying everywhere that was swept under the rug. That is what we have to focus on in January. It's not the time to be doing new things. You're going to have to deal with the things that are coming up, or be proactively clearing up things that will come up eventually if you don't deal with them now. And we'll talk about some things specific for Taurus as to how they can come up. But just suffice to say, you've got inner work to do at this time, or work for your future business or future launches that involve going back over things. So it makes it a wonderful time to do your taxes. If you are behind on taxes and you have more than 1 year to deal with, this is a fantastic time to do that. You'll have the focused power of Pluto on your side in conjunctions at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month, and there's energy in your 8th house that lends itself to really working with those things and clearing them up. So it is good for that kind of thing. When there are long-term transits in a chart, when there are short-term transits in a chart, and then a Mercury retrograde is happening at the same time, usually where those planetary influences are the areas where the things are going to be stirred up. So you'll often hear me talk about early, middle, and late degree placements. I'm going to define that a little bit more right now. An early degree placement, there's 30 degrees in a sign. So essentially, if you break it up into thirds, either by the birth dates or the degrees, if you're looking for your rising sign or your moon or whatever you're looking for, you break it up into thirds. So if you know your degrees, the first third, 0 through 9 or 10 degrees, is early. Then 10 through 19 degrees is middle. Then 20 through 29 degrees, or 19 through 29 degrees, is late. If you know your birthday and you're watching for your sun sign, April 21st through April 30th, so Taurus, April-born Tauruses, those are early degree placements. Middle degree placements are May 1st through May 10th, and then the later degree placements are May 11th through the end of the sign, the 20th or 21st of May. So that's how we divide these things up. So write that down, make a note of it, and I promise it will be worth your time to do that. I know that I take the risk of losing people when I start talking about that because it gets confusing and you just want to hear information. But I'm more interested in your long-term learning and your long-term empowerment than I am in just telling you what's going to happen. And I really want you to understand this. So I take the time to do it, even though it's much more difficult for me to do it that way. But it brings more accuracy to the reading and helps you understand the difference between the early, middle, and late degree charts, which actually turn out to look quite different some of the times. So, what kind of things are going to be stirred up for Tauruses in January? One big thing, and this is for early degree placements and starting for some middle degree placements, you're going to have this energy of Saturn in the 8th house. Wherever Saturn is, it can bring powerful new creations, powerful new manifestations, but it also tests weak links. And many people experience that testing of weak links over understanding the positive end of it, which is in this forging these relationships, either new relationships or deeper levels of current relationships. So this 8th house is one of the partnership houses. So for all Taurus placements, you either have Saturn in the 8th house or Saturn in the 7th house. So essentially all Tauruses are having the influence of Saturn within their close personal relationships. Some of these relationships are going to be involving finances or resources. Some of them are just the relationship themselves. That's the difference between the 7th and the 8th house. So it's like dealing with financing, mortgage companies, funding, loans, school loans, inheritances, shared money, spousal money, company money, collaborative money, something borrowed money of any kind or lending money of any kind. That's the 8th house. So Saturn there, while Mercury's in retrograde, if you've got any weak links like your credit, like identity fraud, anything going on with a weak link within one of your relationships, or with your loan if you don't have, good terms or things like that, these things can start to come up. If you have been living out of your affordability, out of your means, Saturn in the 8th house can call to your attention and say, hey, you have to live within your means, because if you don't, you're not going to be very happy, and it's just this house of cards that's waiting to fall down. So if you have anything involving debt or taxes or money or finances or things like that, it's very possible that Saturn is going to bring that up. If you have anything unresolved within any of your close personal relationships, very likely that Saturn is going to bring that up. Communication issues, that same old pattern, that's going to be a huge focus. So as Saturn might be coming and helping you go deeper into your relationships, usually that involves tests, or that involves showing you the weak links of the relationship, because the strength of the power of the relationship is limited by the weakest link within the relationship, and that's within each person, and that's within the dynamic. So Saturn's trying to make you have better relationships, but Mercury retrograde in January is going to show you all of the things that are weak. So you have a choice. Are you going to engage in the same dynamics, or are you going to try some different things on for employing different approaches to make things better? Now, I did go up and down cautioning you about new things during retrograde, trying on some different perspectives, looking into researching, studying, practicing, playing with. Those are not making long-term commitments. So the things that we don't want to do new are the long-term commitments that you're bound to without much flexibility. The things that are fine to try on are the short-term things, like you try, a several-week couples program if you're having trouble, or you try a 28-day something with your partner where you each do something different every day. Short-term cycles of trying things on are very much indicated. Something else that's going to come up for all, actually really for all people, but there's also some extra specificness for Taurus placements, especially the early and middle degree, is your security weak links. So whether that is with your internet security, your identity, your house security, your car security, security on any level, hidden information, secret information, things that you want to keep private, Facebook things, all of those kind of things. These are going to come up during Mercury retrograde. So if you have a website and you don't have SSL protection, or you don't have site block, or anything like that, it makes it more likely that your website will be hacked. If you have a website, you have to make sure that you have a backup of your website if you put a lot into it, because then if you get hacked, then you can restore your website with the old website. But these are things that many people are going to learn the hard way at this time in January, when these things come up and they say, I never heard about that before. I couldn't have done anything to prevent that. Well, now I'm telling you so that you can do some things to prevent that. You can get on the phone with your security provider of any kind, whether it's, the fire alarm system or whatever it is, your security system. Get on the phone with them. If you have a domain or hosting, call up your hosting company and say, how can I be most protected? And if you can do that before January, it would be even better. So these are the kind of things that you can proactively assist with, because Neptune is telling the story of testing weak links there, further accentuated by Mercury being retrograde. What else do we have? We have Uranus moving through the 12th house for many of you. Uranus is this unpredictable, unstable, erratic energy. And so this is a long-term transit. All these are long-term transits. So when Uranus goes in the 12th house, it can make you feel like you're going crazy. It can add an instability to your mind that for many Taurus people was not present as a normal thing for them, where you say, gosh, I used to be so stable. Many Taurus people, one of my best friends that I grew up with was a Taurus, and she was always very stable and steadfast and had everything kind of figured out and organized. And I'm a Sag, and there were a lot of more erratic energies around her, but she always was just like this anchor. That's how I think of Taurus energy. So many of you might be that anchor. And then when Uranus has moved in, and it's hard to tell depending on your exact placement when this happened, but I know that it's there now for many of you, it brings this instability to your mind that may seem really surprising. So if you've always had a problem with instability in your mind, the Uranus being there could make that more of an issue. And if you didn't have it before, you can say, am I going crazy? There's something going on in my mind. So this is another weak link that could be coming up, that Mercury retrograde could bring up for you in January. So you might need to get some assistance with that, whatever that looks like, but don't be afraid to not be self-reliant with these matters, because the right assistance could help you get back to your center. Okay, so we've got short-term influence in the partnership houses. We have long-term influence in the partnership houses. We have Mercury retrograde. We have a new moon on January 9th in Capricorn. That is the best time of the year to set your intentions for anything related to Capricorn, or make your wishes for anything related to Capricorn, which is business, your place in the world, things involving father figures or authority figures, or leading, basically your place outside of the home, your place in the world, what you're doing there. So making wishes along those lines, carry your wishes further. Brilliant astrologer Jan Spiller talks about lining up your new moon wishes or intentions with, and she says to do wishes rather than just intentions. You spiritual seekers might be trying to use this to be really serious, but she says there's something very special about a wish, asking for something rather than just an intention. That when you're asking for something, it's like you're surrendering, and the act of surrender often can bring the outcomes that you're wanting. So there's something magical in that little shift of energy too. January 9th, you can do all that stuff. Beautiful day in the cosmos. January 13th, we've got the sun making a trine with Jupiter. I think it's going to be one of the best series of days for the whole month as far as the general astrology. So if you've got to do something special or important, that's probably going to be your best time the whole month. And then you just have diciness and changes of plans and changes of focus and changes of direction. So just listen to the universe. If you're trying really hard, forcing something, and Mercury retrograde comes in and is like, yeah, I think you should be focusing on something else. It's going to show you that. Your devices will stop working. If you're trying to get a project done, all of these things that are weak links in your communication, or the devices that you communicate with, or your transportation, or the vehicles that you transport yourself with, any weak links that have been lurking there are going to come up in the retrograde. These kind of things. So those are the things that you'll want to be spending your January on, rather than launching and doing all this new stuff. So if you get your exercise routine that is part of your New Year's resolution started in December, you get all geared up and you're doing it then by the time these challenges come, you'll have your good feeling neurotransmitters, coming into your body, helping to support you when the energy sort of slows down. So I can't see what's going on in your individual chart. I'd like very much to, if you'd like to have a personal reading with me, I do have a coaching package special going on right now. You can check that out on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. And while you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my crew. You get all special perks right away, and then you also get a monthly write-up about the month ahead, which often gives some different detailed information about specific dates and that I don't talk about in the videos or in the blogs. So check that out, and if you want to have a successful online business, check out my course, Create Successful Online Business, and see if that course is for you. Maybe it is. January Mercury retrograde is a perfect time to be learning and to make short-term commitments for learning and researching and going back over things to prepare you for the future when you launch things. So check it out, anniehelpsyou.com, and I hope you have a wonderful day, new year, month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.